think we are. I can't hear you. If we need to, we can hop off again and then come back on to fix the tech problem. I still can't hear you. You want to get out first and then come back on? No?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Lovely. Okay, I'm getting a bit of echo on mine.
Okay.
Oh no, that's done.
Okay.
I think we are. Lovely.
I feel quite excited because I've never been on live on this platform, and I think it's the first time for you as well. But I feel so far the experience has been very smooth, right?
Yes, Claire, it's been as smooth as a duck's back.
After we figured out the microphone issue.
Yeah, well, you know, I was there. I was at 1 minute too. Wait, and I was thinking, this is just like nature, slowly exploring into the gaps, and it'll get there eventually. Not the linear mechanical process that you know, settling into my relaxation as. What I tell you, what was popping into my mind in the internet darkness, not being anywhere. I felt like a seed pod, you know, just ready to burst. It's like, right, it's going to happen at some point, but I don't know when. And here we are.
Yeah. So well, thanks for coming to this live with me, Jim. I just want to give you a big welcome, and don't know if anyone's watching, but for people who might watch the recording later, Jim Lepingwell is my business partner in coaching. We did the same coaching program through a company called Earth Self. And then from April this year, we've been doing the virtual gatherings of nature and business community together. What it is it's a place where, in my view, nature, business, and personal development connect. And in the early days of this virtual gathering, some of the themes we have explored include what can you learn about trust from nature, and how can you balance the harmony and tension in people, planet, and profit. And I think the ones that we did recently that I quite like is what can you learn from nature about embodying your leadership style. And I think since April, we've been doing that. And now that I look back, it's like, okay, nature's been preparing me to partner with Jim. So I feel, again, grateful that I will be working together on the upcoming 5-day Your Natural Self-Exploration event. So with that, Jim, I think plenty of introduction there. I just want to, again, dive into some questions you and I can ask each other, because I feel while the planet had, we've about 20 months into the pandemic, I think life is definitely different. So what is it like for you living a pandemic, being a dad, and being a business owner at the same time?
Yeah, obviously interesting times. I was quite surprised at the first lockdown we had over here. And just to be clear for anybody who was watching, we're actually opposite ends of the world. Claire is in Australia and I'm in the UK, so you can't get much more holistic than that, can you, I suppose? So here in the UK, in the first lockdown, first two, I was actually really okay, and I was very fortunate for it to go very smoothly. Excuse me, but not in the way that I was expecting. As a hypnotherapist and a coach, I was already working online. But when the lockdowns happened, and obviously face to face was not okay, then everybody went online. And I was really fortunate in as much as I was given the opportunity to do some very different work, which I have experience in, which is house restoration. So I was invited to get involved with that. And so I thought, well, I'll step back from the online chaos and the competition. Everybody needs to keep their income, going. And I had an opportunity to not add to any competition online, and so I could stay, COVID safe and do the work that I needed to do. So I had a massive change over that. And then the lockdowns carried on. And professionally, then as we came out of the lockdowns, I recognised that my momentum had slowed down somewhat. So I'm now in that situation of getting back into the world of COVID trading and commerce and commercial activity. From a personal level, it was swings and roundabouts, roller coasters, lots of films, lots of imagination, and we got through. And it wasn't so bad, actually. It wasn't so bad for me. So I do find myself really fortunate compared to. My heart really went out to parents in inner cities, in flats, places like that, because that must have been incredibly difficult. And how about in Oz for you? Because you've had it tough over there, haven't you?
Yeah, so I live in Melbourne. So from last year until early October, we had I think 6 times of lockdown, and there are times that there's like 6.1, 6.2. So the lockdown's been continually extended. Was about, I think, if you count the total number of days, it's more than 260 days of lockdowns. So for me, early last year, I spent some time at my in-laws' farm. So it's very isolated, very safe. When COVID first hit, my partner basically told me, we've got to pack our luggage. You take the girls up there. I'll stay here teaching from home. So that's what I did. And my in-laws have been incredibly supportive in that way. And I suppose also I'm very fortunate because the way we train to do coaching is in the virtual space, and the way I do marketing is also in the virtual space. So for me, obviously, I've got twin girls on my hands. I still could juggle. Obviously, the standards are not the same. I could not say, okay, before COVID, I work X hours in a week, and in the COVID, I must still work X hours a week, even though my girl's at home, and I still need to play the role of being a mother, which I believe is another full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back from the farm after the first wave of COVID, coming back to Melbourne, and that's where things started to flare up. Was actually very harsh, I think, for people in Melbourne from July last year. And I think, again, I have to touch upon my connection with nature, because I think without it, I honestly would not know how I could, balancing the role of being a mother and continue to market my business and talk to people and serve people in the virtual space. I honestly would not know how to. And I think, yeah, it's that connection to my own body, being able to balance my emotional well-being. Nature just gave me so much. Yeah. And this year, of course, I think the last lockdown was from mid-July until early October. I felt was different from last year, obviously because of Delta. And when you went through that whole lockdown, looking after kids, seeing again, the second time you do it, I think I just felt emotionally felt a bit harder, I suppose, physically, and emotionally I felt, oh, not again. And then you obviously think about the long-term prospect of your business when I was in lockdown, because you were not, at that point in time, there was no indication of when we would come out from this lockdown. And I think, again, it's that nature connection, time I spent in nature, during the limit of was 1 or 2 hours, whatever that might be every day, that helped me enormously to go through this tough little period. Yeah, so that was me being a mother, and also trying to run my coaching business in a pandemic life. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess amongst everything else, that's all the other requirements. Adaptation is one of the major ones that we were required to embrace. And also for me, something that nature gave to me was the sense of proportionality. Whilst obviously this is a global thing. I have an apple tree which is very dear to me in the back garden that I've been looking after for the last 10 years or so. So it's before I was involved with it, the stems had grown into a really nice kind of cup shape. It's almost like an armchair made out of wood. So I can sit in there and and just reflect. And from that, sensing into the adaptation and also the scale of situation, and just having trust that we will get through this. Obviously, it'll be tough for some more than others, but we will get through it, and we will change. And I think, as with many crises or catastrophes, which this could be classed as, it is always followed by a period of change, whether that's in human society or in ecosystems. And it won't be the same. It'll be different, and in some ways it'll be better. So taking some positivity from our ingenuity, and I think for me, balanced against the lack of common sense and the apparent stupidity of decision making in various quarters. And to me, that's what drives me in coaching with nature for commercial activity, is to try and gain wisdom from recognizing and embracing our place within nature as we are. But we're not separate from nature. And I do tend to get a little bit annoyed, even when the experts are saying, we need to connect to nature or reconnect to nature. It's like, oh no, we always have been connected to nature. We need to remind ourselves and become familiar again with it. Take away we're blinded by the technological and societal advances, and we have tended, I think, in general, we've forgotten the immense support that being aware, constantly aware of being natural and part of nature. We forgot to look at the learnings from that. So to re-explore on an individual level, because it's different for everybody. I feel that alone, if we were all more aware of our connection, our place, then that alone would bring positive change to decision making, as well as anything that you can build on from that. What drives you in your offer to coach with nature?
I feel, I suppose it's my personal story of how I went from being a corporate banker to becoming a coach. When it was before pandemic, when I used to go out and network with people just go, "Oh, that was such a dramatic change." So then they want to know what was behind it. So yeah, then I would tell them I used to do corporate banking in Sydney. It's a financial center of Australia, and was right before I got married. I was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, the type of cancer. So it was a very dramatic experience for me, because at that point in time, I always felt like, okay, it was right before I got married, so why now, obviously? And people obviously say, why this? Why cancer? And why me? But I think it was fortunate that at that point in time, I met, our trainer, Tabitha. She was offering the program to help people deepen their connection with nature. And I think what showed up just the perfect time, because when I look at my childhood, I remember a lot of vivid memories of my parents, my grandparents as well, my uncles, aunties. We spent time in the local park, walking around, and the picnic, it's included, but also the time in nature is like the highlight of my childhood memories. And I think at that point in time, I couldn't really articulate the importance of nature. But when I was sick, and I kept thinking about those memories, and I felt that was the moment for me to reconnect with myself. So that was, I think, played a huge role to drive me to become a coach, because nature helped me become better. And my whole recovery process wasn't easy. There were moments, the Western hospital treatment wasn't just moving the needles towards the end, and was really nature. If I look at my own experience, that helped move the needle in the end. And I think after I became trained as a coach, what drives me to help others is that I think I saw that immense transformation that I went through, and I sometimes believe that if I could have that kind of transformation, imagine what I can help people to transform. So yeah, so I think that's what motivated me. That was before the pandemic. And then, of course, then the pandemic came. Then I realized it was actually a pivotal moment in our human society, that we actually got locked down in a very strange way initially, to contemplate, to have a space to reflect, rather than just go, oh, I got to go somewhere very, very quickly. I got no time to spend time in nature to reflect. I'm sure a lot of people's career directions change. I cannot speak enough of the huge amount of changes people went through personally in their lives. And of course, pandemic has made us to have to confront with death, right? And death is, I think, the biggest transformation a human being can go through. And again, talking about death, I think that was my experience when I had lymphoma. I was confronted by death, and that really helped me to transform internally. And then, of course, doing work with nature, it's about transforming internally, but also what drives me to help other people is to help them embody that wisdom. Because embodying is, it's not easy, because you have to connect with nature. That takes time and practice, right, as you know, and being able to trust that wisdom that you receive from nature, and that trust is built upon connecting with our own body, connecting with our own inner wisdom. And nature's wisdom for me is, it's ever emerging. It's not like a machine, as you know, like input and output. There's some sort of correlation. And now even in the pandemic world, we are, like some people say, we are living in a VUCA world, right? And I think without nature, I personally would not know how to navigate through this, whether you call it volatility, volatile, ambiguous, complex, and ambiguous world, right? So yeah, and I think touching upon what drives me in helping people in coaching with nature is, I feel it's the time is now for us as a whole race to deepen our relationship with nature, with the earth, and with our own inner nature, so that we can actually align our actions with the earth. It's not just about just go and create stuff, and we've got to be mindful of how our inner nature aligns with the earth's wisdom, because nature is a living thing and it has huge intelligence.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that a phrase that springs to mind is change is inevitable, and of course change is always present. And I think what we have here is an opportunity to reset or reassess how we have been applying our gifts, our thoughts, our plans and strategies. And globally, we have this opportunity to very, I was going to say smoothly, at the same time, we can all make a large change in our priorities and what we're looking at. Excuse me. One of the things that you mentioned is it's made us all aware of the fragility of our situation, our lives, and where our lives are and how our lives are held. And so with the pandemic interrupting global trade, and all of a sudden we are very aware of how much we rely on very fragile threads of commerce and trade and exchange. And so everybody has drawn in a little bit, retracted and bunkered down. And as we come back out from that, if we look at the strength of the roots, almost like mycelium in the forest, which is their favorite one, of course, as their metaphor, looking at how the mycorrhizal community supports the forest, and all these nutrients and resources are shared, so that the forest is as a whole a lot healthier and a lot more excuse me, a lot more resilient, rather than being a collection of individuals. So yes, it's has been a remarkable challenge, but it is a remarkable opportunity. So I do have optimism.
Yeah. So what about you? What drives you in helping your clients with coaching?
Well, there's, as I referred to earlier, there is what I see as the immense potential that commercial activity has globally to be a positive contribution to change that we need. Along with that, though, is the aspect of, again, you referred to it, the inner nature and the outer nature. I feel that through coaching and supported with hypnotherapy that I offer as well, is changing the way that we relate to ourselves and other people on a smaller scale, so that as individuals become more comfortable and more aware of their place in nature and the ripple effects of their actions and thoughts and words, then better decisions are made. And so if this is increasing, then in all the boardrooms, in the middle management, all the culture changes. And so therefore, when we scale up from the individual level, amongst a family, friends, and a town or community, if we then look at the commercial communities of businesses within a country or in a global arena, if increasing numbers of companies make good decisions based on well thought out science and evidence, and with forethought to First Nations use some of the First Nations use the 7 generations, make a decision which is taking into account the impact 7 generations from now. So if more of that approach is happening, then that better decision making is going to roll out, and of course it will assist in the sea change that we need. So for me, it's almost like a loop that scales up and down through exactly the same process of awareness and relatability.
Yeah, and I quite like that loop. Like we gotta go inward and then go outward and then coming back inward, getting feedback, and that loop.
I mean, we could dive into non-duality, but perhaps not in this.
That's
not enough time.
Yeah, that's something that we have in common, like have a common interest and passion. So with time we got left, do you want to dive into some nature experiences? And then, of course, we'll quickly touch upon the 5-day Your Natural Self exploration, and also why we are so passionate about bringing this program.
Yeah, sure. I mean, with our natural approach, I guess I'm not even sure how long we're talking for, so I'm not sure how
we'll
much.
just have to be a little bit cognizant of the time. But go ahead. I think it's relevant because, like you said, I think the whole state of, well, no, I can't really say in that way, but I think when life is chaotic and confusing and also complex, a lot of people, they don't know where to start, because in the personal development world, it's a huge market. Like there's so much noise out there, and some are good, some are just clouding the whole space. And I do feel with nature, again, it's coming from my own personal experience and how I see clients transform when they work with me. It's about, because people sometimes tend to separate things. Okay, I want to become more creative, for example. Then they just want to, they just focus on the outcome of being more creative. But for me, underneath it all, life is a interconnected web of life. You couldn't really separate the outcome of creativity from your relationship or your deepening relationship with the natural world. And so I think that the commitment, if I want to put it that way, of deepening our relationship or individuals' relationship with the natural world is sometimes ignored, because now life is getting more and more hectic, more and more crazy. Who has the time to spend time in nature? But I think the opposite is true, that in my own life, at least, is that I feel the more hectic and the more crazy my life gets, the more time I need to spend time in the natural world. In my case, it's the local garden, so that I could ground myself, so that I could, just not to just hustle, but really think about, like, ground in such a grounded way, what actions actually align with my own own inner nature, because my own inner nature is connected with the natural world.
Absolutely. I see a lot of sense in that. One thing that I've kind of been looking more and more into and feeling more into is modern stoicism, which blends very well with a nature approach. One of the core ethical points of that philosophy is balancing inner nature and outer nature. Anyway, and it's remarkable that a philosophy to thousands of years old, started off in Greece and Roman times, is still relevant today. And one of the aspects, another aspect that I love about it is recognizing the limits of your control, and where things are beyond your control. Whilst it might be hard not to worry about them, there is no point worrying about things beyond your control. So, of course, that energy, time, and effort can be spent and be placed in what you can control and what you can have an effect on. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be exploring and pushing your limits of control. Just don't overreach them, because it's wasted. So for me, that brought in I suppose it battled hopelessness, rather than looking into a raging, endless ocean or into a void. It gave landscape and context for me to walk in. So that was very important to me.
So yesterday, when we were brainstorming how this session would go, you were thinking about asking a specific question about our nature experiences. Would
Yes.
Would you like to go ahead and just ask me that question? And of course,
smoothly. And so, Claire, do you have any specific nature experiences you'd like to talk about, just to give an insight into your experience?
It's not recent, I suppose, but I think being a mother, I always, and also, when I got pregnant, I suppose my specialist was, he was, not putting away that he was against it, but he said he was not too favor of it. So, but I think when I found out I was pregnant, I really trusted my own instinct, and that comes from spending time in nature, listening to nature's wisdom when I connect with it. And one of the and nature just kept telling me, your pregnancy is going to go so well, and it's going to be totally fine. And it did. It turned out so well, and my kids are like super healthy. And like my specialist was like, oh wow, your body is just amazing. Like, I mean, he couldn't figure out in his brain how somebody could have such, heavy treatment, and then just takes a year, and then having such healthy kids. And I think one of the highlights in my nature experience was because I got identical girls, and they're twins. I think when I was in the botanical garden here in Melbourne, there was one time I just felt I was one with the earth, and my baby is in my tummy at that point in time, and I was probably more than halfway. Like, I got quite a big bump, and I felt like they were like the little earth, if I want to use that language. And I just felt, for me, that just was so emotional, because I felt we humans, we have a lot of divisions among ourselves, a lot of negative things happening on this planet, and yet in our core essence, our own ecological identity, we are all earth.
It sounds like that's could be a source of immense strength.
Yeah.
That realization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Jim?
I think the excuse me. For me, what the most astounding experience that kind of helped me keep faith that I was heading in the right direction without actually giving any answers was when I'd spent some time looking after some gardens in primal rainforest in Costa Rica, a place called Luna Lodge, High Lana, a long time ago. And on the days leading up to my departure, there was a little waterfall which nobody else went to because it was too much of a pain to get to. Near the gardens, so I went down there and enjoyed my last time, and was just reveling in the gratitude of this private paradise, really. And as I was saying my goodbyes to it, a hummingbird came down and hovered in front of my face for what felt like an eternity. And I was just gobsmacked, of course, and completely, blew my mind out. And then I climbed back up to the garden itself, and again was reflecting, still with the hummingbird in my mind. And I was saying my goodbyes to the toucans and the little casotes that looked like possibly a badger and a squirrel. And as I was saying goodbye, a butterfly flew up and landed on my mouth. One of those iconic ones that have black numbers and 89 or something like that. And it landed on my mouth and stayed there long enough for me to actually gather my wits and my phone and take a selfie with nature. And it was to me that is nature communicating, and I couldn't explain that logically at all. And whilst it wasn't a blinding flash of ta-da, Jim is now connected to nature, it's like, oh, hello, that is definitely something. Can't explain it, don't know what it means. So as far as messages, communication of direct messages, I no idea what it was. Maybe it was just a thanks, nice to know you, goodbye. But I feel like I didn't really need to try and derive any message from that. For me, it was just a powerful reassurance that there is more. There is. We are nature. There is. Senses are flowing. And so for me, that again, it gave me it was such a powerful experience. And without getting into the reductionism of what it could have been or what could have prompted it and all this kind of stuff, it demonstrated to me that there is that bond because I am nature, part of it. It flows through me, So yeah, that was immensely guiding for me.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's fine. I can tell you about the bat another time.
Okay. I just want to go into the upcoming 5-day Your Natural Self-Exploration event that you and I will be leading. The warm-up task starts from tomorrow, and we'll be having 1 week, giving people one week to have that warm-up task, and then officially starts from 15th of November. The intention, I think, in general, for us is to help people deepen their relationship with nature and improve their well-being. But I think our personal whys are different. So just wondering, what's your deep personal why about bringing this program out to the world?
Well, I feel I'm beginning to feel sympathy for anybody who is still listening after over half an hour of us. So I wonder if we might be kind and liberate these people from any feelings of obligation to listen to the end. The personal whys for delivering this program is just about the mechanics for me of how to contribute in the way that we talked about earlier, for the reasons that I talked about, bringing or contributing, helping in some way. Imperfectly perfect, work in progress. We all need to be changing how we're doing business and living, and this is one way that you and I are able to help that as we run these 5 days as a light touch, as an introduction to a framework that works and has helped many people explore remind themselves of their place in nature and how to how to bring that into our decision making on a personal level, but also a commercial level.
Yeah. For me, the personal why really comes from the harsh lockdown in Melbourne, and I just felt I think lockdown probably prevented a lot of deaths because Australia has one of the lowest number of deaths rates from COVID. But I think it introduced a lot of other issues. Number one is actually mental health, and I think as a species that we have become so disconnected with the natural world that we don't realize that nature can actually play a huge role in improving our mental health and emotional well-being. And from a coaching point of view, that I see that when people are actually capable of releasing strong negative emotions in this crazy sea world themselves, then a lot of clarity about the actions that they can take, how they can do it, etc., etc. It's basically it's the wisdom of nature coming through them will just be so apparent. So that's my personal why of why I'm so passionate about bringing this 5-day Your Natural Self exploration event together with you.
Thank you. Just to add to the idea or the way in which nature helps, as you say, spending time in nature is very strengthening, and even that's even from a biochemical point of view. It has been proven by numerous studies that spending a certain amount of time, half an hour or more, in nature lowers your cortisol production, and cortisol being a stress hormone that affects our decision making. So the more relaxed we are, the more creative our thinking is. We could look at the brain waves, but perhaps not now. And so from that biophysical point of view, it is assisting. And then, of course, there's the emotional and psychological when they're all linked. So yeah, there are many ways that it does benefit. And of course, that can be developed. The more you become aware of that, the more you can utilize it and strengthen the effects and explore the ways in which you can think more deeply.
Yeah, and also I feel this event, like this year from April, we've been just building relationships in the virtual communities, right? And I feel it's personally, I feel very attracted to do that because I feel meaningful relationships are really. I think that's what my soul wants. I want to put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, connection. And again, going back to the fact that we're in Australia and the UK, and it's lovely to think of the ethereal mycelium, the strands and the roots reaching between us, and all the places it branches off into with the connections we've made, and it's really encouraging, and it's lovely to think about that growing, and the communication and the help and assistance and support flowing throughout that network all over. Really, it is very, very nice.
Yeah. And of course, that at the end of the program, we don't know what can emerge. And as coaches, we always want to offer our paid coaching services to people who may want to take their personal development a bit further.
Oh yes, commercial activity. Yes, we we do coaching as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, Claire, shall we let people enjoy the rest of their morning?
Okay then. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for showing up with me here, Jim, and how much I appreciate you as my business partner.
Likewise, Claire. It's very, very exciting. Yes, and thank you for all the work that you do in the ways that I don't. So thanks for the balancing out there. Yes, and thank you everybody for watching and listening. Please do join us on the 5-day challenge. To find out more, you can get in contact with either one of us. With the details will be somewhere that Claire's put them that will be easily found. Ask Claire.
Okay then. Well,
thanks very much.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Bye.